Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'll just wait one more minute and then we'll get started with the municipalities. Thank you everyone for spending this time today. I really, really, really appreciate it. I forgot. All right, I think we'll, it's okay to get started. Like once again, I'm Cecilia Carmen, the co-chair for the waste reduction team for the environmental defenders. This is the municipality group where we're going to have some local leaders talk about their success stories with waste reduction here in McHenry County. And then we also have a very special guest, Adrian from SWALCO, the Solid Waste Action team from Lake County, to talk about how our municipalities can work more hand in hand with our haulers. And so I will introduce Nick Hammond. He is our first speaker. And this is a little bit about Nick. Nick Hammond is the assistant to the city manager of Crystal Lake. He's been with the city for 4 years and also serves as a staff liaison for the sustainability committee. He also works with the residential garbage and recycling services for the city, oversees Three Oaks recreational areas and some other various roles in the city. Nick has been a great help for me planning this breakout, and he's also helped me with working with Lake in the Hills. So if Nick, you can take it away.
Sure. And can you hear me okay?
Yes, yeah.
All right. I can get a little presentation here if I can share my screen. 1 second.
Okay, no problem.
Okay. Can you see the presentation?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so thank you, Cecilia. So I am the assistant to the city manager for Crystal Lake and also the staff liaison for the sustainability committee. So a lot of what we focus on is public outreach, utilizing our website, social media tools, and the city newsletter. That's usually where we do the bulk of our public outreach about different sustainability initiatives, things that the committee is working on. Beyond that, what we also do is that we work different events throughout the year. One of the big ones for the sustainability committee is the Bike with Your Neighbor event that we'll be having in June this year in partnership with the Park District. And we also have the Johnny Appleseed Festival. We always set up a booth there, and new last year is that we joined the Downtown Crystal Lake Association. They held the Garden and Butterfly event. And that also coincided with one of our programs of accepting the Mayor's Monarch Pledge, which I'll get to next. And one of the other events that we did, even partnering with local schools as well, and we went to the Husman Environmental Night. But beyond that is our different programs. The committee's helped with spreading awareness of emissions caused by idling cars. Had our anti-idling campaign back when the sustainability committee was previously the Clean Air Counts campaign. And I believe we've got a few members of the sustainability committee are here today. I know I saw the Dropoffs, and Carol Elkins is looking to join as well. Beyond that, we've been working with promoting information about native plants and pollinators and preserving the not just the monarch butterfly, but also the pollinator habitats. And we also are working to branch into more information about solar panels and also for electric vehicles. I believe that's everything for the sustainability. Oh, the other thing is the a new program that the Sustainability Committee has been involved with is the Green Business Designation Program. So the Sustainability Committee, we work, we kind of reprogrammed to focus on initiatives from the Greenest Region Compact. And that lists out a bunch of different initiatives and things that the city of Crystal Lake could pursue, towards environmental goals. And one of them was the Green Business Program, which we're trying to get up and running. And I know Zach Dolezal has submitted an application for Dukes, and we're opening it up, trying to do outreach to have businesses in town that can showcase their sustainable efforts. And it also kind of works as free advertising, but we also get to highlight people and their efforts towards preserving the environment. And so it's been great seeing today about the different, initiatives and things that, the local restaurants are able to pursue to help the environment. And, we want to showcase that with our, the Green Business Program. So we plan to do that every year. And part of it also with the sustainability committees, they help to identify grants for the city, different things that the mayor and city council could enact, or even just on my end, what our staff can pursue as far as environmental sustainability from city programs and services. And so part of the sustainability committee's efforts in the past year, and also proceeding for this year, is for the mayor's Monarch pledge. So the mayor, Heike Lebling, he accepted the pledge in 2021, and the city pursued 3 action items to become a signatory for the program. I included a picture there, but you can see on the National Wildlife Federation's website, we're able to put our community profile in there and kind of highlight what we accomplished last year and what we look forward to doing in 2022. So we have accepted the pledge again. We'll be pursuing 5 action items this year instead of just 3. So we plan to keep continuing to build on this. And some of the initiatives that we're looking at from continuing from last year is, again, pollinator education on the city website, social media, and the newsletter. The city will be looking to modify the city code. It was surprising to see that we still listed milkweed as a banned or prohibited weed in the city code, which I've been working with the sustainability committee. We've been handing out milkweed seeds last year, so it kind of goes against that. So we'll be clearing that up this year as well. And beyond that, we'll also be continuing with Davy Resources. They do our natural areas maintenance, which they've been doing this program for years at the Three Oaks Recreation Area, monitoring invasive species, doing treatments for the water, different ecological management for not only just the park, also we do on the North Shore area of Crystal Lake, where we do stormwater management there, different things with rain gardens, and they're helping to assist with that, as well as some areas in the downtown Crystal Lake. Also, the Sustainability Committee will be helping with this program on working with community groups. We've spoken in the past about branching out to a lot of the, not just townhomes, but also, the places where, it's larger communities, but they have a contractor that does the landscaping. And a lot of those places, they don't really have rain gardens, is what we noticed, but we're going to be looking to work with those community groups in the coming year to, work on getting native plants and native gardens in those areas, instead of just cutting the grass, always taking away the leaves, and how that's not good for pollinators. And then, of course, we'll continue to provide the native seeds at our different events throughout this year. And so beyond just the Sustainability Committee, our Public Works and Engineering staff, I work hand in hand with them on a lot of different projects. And I believe I saw on the slideshow at the beginning today was the picture of the new electric vehicle charging station that Crystal Lake has installed. So it's up and running. It will be $1 per hour for using it. We're just waiting on the router to come in right now, so it's taking a little bit of time. We'll blame supply chain issues on that. So once that's in, it'll be fully up and running. We'll do more of a more promotion that it's available, but it is installed, so we're almost there. And that was also got to give a shout out to the environmental defenders of McHenry County. They donated the actual station itself, and then the city just took it from there to do the installation, and then we'll be monitoring that as we go forward. Beyond that, the Public Works has been involved with a lot of different stormwater and rain garden projects in the city. A lot of this stuff, it'll help with water retention, any places in town that we've had issues with, drainage, flooding, and these have done it's been very good. The impact's been positive for, a lot of residents in their homes from these efforts. And beyond that, of course, I brought up about the best management practices that we follow, and we continue to expand each year on with our ecological contractor for, monitoring the native areas. And some other different items that we've had throughout the years is anti-idling reduction. We have policies in place for our city vehicles, and we've even done, just from a financial standpoint, to see the impact of not having all our vehicles idling all the time. And, our gas costs went down. That's great for emissions. And we also have signs up that the committee has worked with, even back when it was Clean Air Counts, to have, especially by the metro area. We've been trying to work with the local schools. It's been a little bit difficult with the pandemic, but we'll continue to pursue, anti-idling. A lot of those long lines of parents picking up their children after school. We also have programs switching LED streetlights and parking lights throughout the city. And we also have our brush pickup and brush drop-off program with the city's contracted waste hauler. We have the bike share program with Visit McHenry County, and we'll be continuing that again this year. And also, I just learned that our public works staff were working on replacing all the old diesel generators with natural gas at all of our lift stations, which I believe we have 29 of them, so that impact will be positive as well. And here's some of those rain garden projects that I mentioned from Public Works. So we're going to have one at Pine Street and Oriole Street. That one's the city purchased about, I think it was 5 homes, demolished those, and we'll be creating a detention basin that'll have a rain garden there as well. And some other ones in the future we're looking at. We're looking at Clover Drive, Ivy Lane and Edgewater Drive, and also Fair Oaks and Corin. And those are kind of around the west side of the actual Crystal Lake. Some of the areas that we've seen some drainage and flooding issues in the past. And then also, as we said before, is I'm the main point of contact for the city's garbage and recycling contract. So, and it was good that we were able to highlight this, that the city does have food scrap composting as part of the garbage and recycling contract. And residents are able to put any type of food scraps with their yard waste throughout the year. So it's a little bit more difficult in the winter once the yard waste program is shut down, but that's when we work with promoting, at-home food scrap composting for residents. Beyond that, we also have yard waste collection as part of the program, and recycling education is a big thing with the city, and we'll work with the contractor. So a lot of things about proper recycling, what can or cannot be recycling. Still have people that don't know you can't put a pizza box into the recycling, things like that. So it's a constant, learning process, trying to get the word out about what people are supposed to do, what they're supposed to follow. And, we've been able to see that our reach from the city newsletter has been great. We also use the city website, social media pages, anywhere we can to kind of get the word out about what, the best practices people should follow. And we have the picture here as well for our holiday light recycling bin. So we technically keep this through February, but if somebody came in June with lights, we'll still take them and just hold on to them until the fall. And then, of course, also with prairie land disposal, which eventually they'll be turning into lakeshore cycling, but they're still under the city's contract, is that we offer 2 electronics collection weeks per year. We have our next one coming up for the first week of March, and then we'll have another one in September. But that one also gets a lot of use as well. And even beyond that, the city works with other, nonprofits, schools. I think the most recent one was, we had the pumpkin composting bin at one of the farmers markets over at the Dole Mansion. So anytime we get a request like that, they've even helped with the Chamber of Commerce. They have their Earth Day event where, people are doing shredding for paper. And they've also had, Prairie Land has offered bins for people to bring in electronics. And I've worked with setting that up, and they've had, I couldn't even tell you, they filled up parking lots full of TVs that people have brought in. And it's helped to, people have different options for that. And, we're hoping to look to see for styrofoam foam as well. It's great to see from the environmental defenders. But that's kind of a recap of everything that I'm involved with. And I know we had some discussion questions as well, but at least want to go over, my background and what I'm involved with, and kind of the efforts in the Sustainability Committee as well.
Great. Thank you so much, Nick. That was a great presentation. I learned a lot about, I thought I knew exactly what Crystal Lake was involved in, but it was amazing to see what more you guys are doing and your focus and your commitment to sustainability. But as we know, Crystal Lake is not the only town who's working very hard on sustainability. We also have Steve Wenzel here from Woodstock, and I'm going to let you know a little bit about him before we start. All right. Excuse me, I just gotta get the let's see. All right, there we go. Great. Yeah, let's see, yeah. And Nick, if you could stop sharing the screen, that'd be great.
Yeah, I clicked on it. Did it take the presentation off, or is it still sharing?
It's still yeah, it's still sharing. Yeah. Okay.
Mine's clear.
Oh, it's not on yours? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. All righty. Maybe. Okay. All right. No problem. All right. Let me just, I'm going to get up the, okay. Guess we're done. All right. So, yeah. Okay. Sorry. I don't know. I go to a lot of Zooms. I don't know what's a lot of Zooms. So thank you everyone for your patience. All righty. So I'm going to introduce Steve Wenzel. He has lived in Woodstock for 30 years. He works as a system engineer for Ascent Logistics. He is a dedicated volunteer who has served on the Environmental Commission of the City of Woodstock, which he's done for 9 years. And also he's on the board of the Land Conservancy of McHenry County. Now, Steve, I've made you a co-host, so we look forward to this presentation.
I don't have any PowerPoints, but what I would give you is a thumbnail or a brief overview of the life cycle of how we got the bag bill done from the beginning to the end, and I guess what a couple of the takeaways are from that if someone's going to do a similar initiative for something else. And the bag bill, the bag fee, started about 2015, 2 years after I guess the Bring Your Own Bag Committee started, and it was the engagement of the defenders with the city of Woodstock that kind of lit the fire on this. I remember in September of 2015, Cynthia Canner came and did a presentation at the city on the importance of eliminating single-use plastic bag waste or reducing it as much as possible. The mayor was interested in this. And so from the beginning, the two things I see that are successful to get some kind of change through where an ordinance passed are the engaged citizenry to engage the government, and then the support of the mayor, which is really critical. So the mayor bid on this, and we established a joint commission of two other commissions in the city, the Environmental Commission and the Cultural Sensitivity Commission. And we began meeting monthly to discuss a strategy, and the mayor already had an idea how this was going to happen. So there was two prongs to this. One is cultural change ahead of a bag fee or a bag ban, if we thought we could do that, and then the actual structuring of an ordinance to affect bag reduction. So towards prong one and education, we thought public outreach. We would put web content on the page and articles in the city newsletter, host public meetings where we would engage the citizens or teach, educate the citizenry on alternatives to single plastic bag use, but also seek their ideas and their inputs and suggestions. And so this happened at the Stage Left Cafe and some other places. But the mayor, who had visited Woodstock, England on a joint trip, was presented with a reusable canvas shopping bag that was distributed free to the citizenry there. And it, of course, was branded for Woodstock, England. And he brought this back with him, and he was fascinated by this and thought, why don't we do one for Woodstock and give one to every citizen in the county? There's 9,000 households in Woodstock. And so we thought, okay, we want to produce a bag that's durable, that people are going to want to use, that's attractive. Also is imprinted with information on recycling and a web URL you can go to learn more. Can we produce that? How cheaply, and how can we get it to households? So one part of the committee's work was to find a supplier, create a bag, and get it out to the households. The other part was, how do we research an ordinance? And there was already thoughts about how this would work. Woodstock was not a home rule community, so it couldn't charge a fee, but Woodstock was hoping to become a home rule community. Eventually, Woodstock would have a census passed, and we met the requirements for home rule, which was we found we were 27,000 people. Then we could look at creating an ordinance to do this. So sourcing the bag, we looked first to see if we could have it produced locally. We couldn't do it at a price point that was competitive. We looked at our sister city, Zacatecas, Mexico, to see if we could have it produced there and provide benefit there. And we thought we had, something going there, but we couldn't get a bag produced. Eventually, we settled on a bag producer in India who met international fair trade labor standards, we were comfortable with, and got a canvas bag made with double stitched handles that were really strong. They wouldn't come apart. It was washable, hygienic, and also could be imaged. And a local artist produced the imagery for the bag. We got these distributed with volunteers to the 9,000 households over the course of about 6 months, and then made additional bags available for sale at points of sale around the city for a couple dollars. To pay for this, we wanted this to be as revenue neutral for the city as possible. We had a fund we had some dollars from EPA Superfund money that was never spent. We borrowed from that fund to finance production of the bags, and sought to repay that with sales of the bags, but also from a future fee if we could get a bag fee instituted. We expected more resistance from the citizenry, from the residents of Woodstock than we got. We did have some people who were unhappy with the idea that we were discouraging the use of plastic bags. They thought they were convenient. They had questions about sanitation. Is it safe to use a bag over and over? And what about meat products and things like this? So this was all noted, and we concluded that classes of bags that weren't for pharmacy use or that weren't for meat products, we would charge for. But other kinds of bags, like advertising things that hang on doors, we didn't see any way we could address that or anything else. So those are exempted. The ordinance was eventually passed in September of 2019. People were already had bags from us to use and had already undergone some awareness coaching on reusabilities, and it seemed to go very well. And then COVID hit, and we could not use recyclable bags in stores anymore, or I'm sorry, reusable bags in stores anymore. And so things were in limbo for about a year. Last summer, reusables were allowed again. The bag fee, which had been suspended, was re-enabled, and the program's moving forward again. But the two takeaways, like I say at the beginning, were we couldn't have done it without the support of an advocating citizenry that can educate our city staff and our council people, and the support of the mayor. And if you have those two, you can kind of get something like this through. That was the thumbnail history, and there's a lot of details I've collected on this if anybody has any questions on this later on. That was it.
All right, great. All right, thank you. That was very interesting. See how it took, the collaboration, and the good thing is we have citizens who are here today, maybe not in this group, but other groups who are hopefully from other towns that want to start doing that as well. The single use, getting rid of the single use plastic. All right, and then our final speaker is Peter Adrian. Now, PD Adrian has been talking trash since 1994 when he was managing a student-run recycling program at Northern Illinois University. He has been with SWALCO since 2001, assisting various municipalities and organizations within Lake County to decrease the toxicity and volume of waste disposed in our landfills through the implementation of aggressively recycling and waste diversion initiatives. He is responsible for managing agency electronic collection program, monitoring residential and commercial waste, and recycling service contracts, and implementing various food waste diversion and composting programs, including the coordination with their USDA Community Compost and Food Waste Reduction Grant. He also assists with implementing various recycling education and awareness programs and their household chemical waste collection program. Peter holds a bachelor's degree from Northern Illinois University and is a certified sustainable resource management professional through the Illinois Recycling Association and Kane County Community College. He's a board member of the National Recycling Coalition and vice president of the Illinois Communities of Solid Waste Management Association. He lives in Gurnee with his 3 children, is an active Boy Scout leader, and enjoys camping and hiking. All righty, so Peter, please take it away.
Yeah, well, thank you. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
No?
Yes, sorry. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Sorry,
I don't
I'm
see
switching
anybody else
back.
nodding, so I'm looking for nods.
Yes.
Okay, well, just thank you for having me today. Appreciate it, Cecilia and Cynthia and the rest of the group. And great comments. Love what Nick's got going there in Crystal Lake. And Steve, you guys did some amazing stuff with getting that bag ban passed. Glad to see. Wish we could get more of those going. We struggled on a statewide one here with the SWALCO several years in a row, and haven't really gone back to it, but maybe there's some time to recourse it. So I'm going to speak about approaches to community-based food waste diversion. Just quickly, SWALCO is a unit of local government in Illinois. We were formed in '91 with the Solid Waste Management Planning Act, which required every county in the state to have a solid waste management plan to address the needs of their county for 20 years and renew that plan every 5 years thereafter. So we have been doing that. We've got 43 municipalities in the county, including folks that live on Naval Station Great Lakes as ex officio. So over the past 30 years, we've focused on doing quite a few different things. And now we're really got our heels dug in on diverting organics from landfills. So that said, in 2015, there was a statewide study of the composition of waste taken into landfills in Illinois. Found that about 30% of that waste was compostable in nature, whether it be paper or food related. We updated our solid waste management plan last in 2019 with a commitment to try to get the 60% diversion of our total waste stream by 2030. So that's where we're kind of going here, and you kind of see the cumulative there. You see a lot of different pie charts with different numbers, and here's another one, so I won't dwell on that. One of the things that we started years ago was compost bins, backyard compost bins, and we'd worked with a couple different companies over the years, but bottom line was we still sell them. We do it through our native plant sale with the forest preserves every year. They sell for, I think they're still at $50, and we do sell rain barrels now in addition to that. So we do value backyard composting. We feel it's an important piece. However, we realize that you can't backyard compost all your food waste, especially your meats and bones and other animal-based materials. So the collection at the curb is really more important in getting it to what many call the commercial compost facilities or a hot compost pile. Even though some people do a great job in their backyard of getting that hot enough, but usually it's not good enough for all the meats and bones and things. So as many of you know, there are quite a few composting facilities permitted in Illinois. And if you see this map, you notice that our region, Northeast Illinois, has got probably the most concentration of them of anywhere. It obviously speaks for itself because of the population and density in our area as well. Illinois EPA does regulate these and permit them. This information came from the Illinois EPA beyond the bin map. So if anybody's got any question of where that came from, I'm not going to drill down into it too much. One of the things that we were pretty proud of going back to 2015 was there was an Illinois House Bill 437 that was passed in the Rauner administration that allowed temporary or permanent sites to collect organics for composting. This opened the door for local units of government to have public drop-offs. Prior to that, you had to have a permit. Now, local units of government can either host or allow other organizations to provide community-based drop-off locations. Back in May of 2016, the Village of Grays Lake, with their big shoulders, decided to host the first one. This is an image of basically a cart-based collection where residents from around the county region can drop off food scrap year-round. And the Village of Grays Lake funded this program. so that the residents don't have to pay anything. That's been kind of the sticking point why we haven't seen many more of these probably introduced. A lot of communities don't know about it. B, there is a cost. Somebody has to shoulder that burden. Usually it's going to be the local unit of government if they can afford to do it. And then the third is just general misunderstanding that these things can be a problem in a community, which they're not. And then of course, Prairie Land Disposal and Lake Barrington does have a drop off as they're transitioning over to LRS, their new parent company name. They are going to be moving their office into Wakanda, and I'm not sure the fate of that drop off, but we will know more in the future. One of the other things that everybody's pretty familiar with, but what we really kind of did as a baby step was introduce the idea of food waste collection as a ride along during the 8-month period that municipalities generally allow their residents to have yard waste collected at the curb, generally in bags or in a container that they might provide or lease from a waste hauler. So what we dubbed this is a ride along program. In essence, when we go out and do a contract with a waste hauler or renewal, add the provision in that organics or food scraps can also be commingled or collected with the yard waste collection program for those 8 months. This is a good way to introduce the residents into food scrap or food waste collection without, a real significant increase in their costs or any increase in their costs outside of what they've traditionally been doing. A lot of communities will use a sticker-based program for this as well, or the year-round or the 8-month subscription. So again, just give you a little background, so I said we had 43 communities in Lake County. This is a overview of the year-round programs. Right now we have a total of 4 municipalities and 1 township that have year-round collection of organics. That it could be, obviously landscape waste during the summer months, and then food waste during the remainder of the year or the entire year. You'll see in this, if you can read it clearly, it shows 3 communities have a 3rd cart. So this was included in the waste contract. The waste hauling contract was that the community, each residence was given a cart for collection of organics as part of the basic service. And there is not an opt-in for these. These are technically, I guess you could opt out by choice and just not put your cart out, but there is no choice. You're going to get this service included in, and that's something that we're certainly encouraging. We're working right now at the City of Highland Park. They're going to be days away here from making a decision to go to a all-in program for the entire city. Right now, they're on a subscription where residents can subscribe to the service for the year round, and then they pay an extra fee. In the case of Highland Park, it looks like all residents will pay an additional $3 in the cost of their waste hauling services for the year, $3 per month. So it is, it's not free. There's no doubt about it. And this is something that the city council is tackling, is the discussion about whether or not they should be charging every resident an additional $3 a month for something like this. But it looks like we're going to be moving in that direction. So I'm looking forward to that. And then of course, all the other communities are in ride along. These are what I kind of call our transitional communities. Eventually, as contracts renew and they start seeing the year-round program successes, we hope to see them step into this role as year-round. So again, the year-round programs, just kind of an overview. I think I spoke to most of this already. Again, it's part of your regular monthly rate if you're in a year-round service. So if you don't use it, well, you're still paying for it, right? But it does much better than an opt-in, because a lot of communities to try the opt-in approach, and what you do is you get complacency and apathy that people just don't bother, and they don't learn about it well enough in advance, or don't know about it the next year or the year after, and it kind of gets forgotten. So it does take, it's a harder climb if you do an opt-in, so we don't recommend the opt-ins. Just give you a little bit historical on a couple of the towns that do have the year-round. Lake Bluff, these are some of their pricing when they first had their contract beginning in 2017. Prices have gone up about 2% each year. They don't have a cart in Lake Bluff. It is a paper bag or provide your own container. We do see a lot of residents do set out their own container. So we're, continuing with that one. Highwood is the first community that we had cart-based. And in that time, it was $1 per household per month more to go to that. What you're seeing here is the center cart. This is LRS's service here in Highwood. Center cart is the recycling, the 65-gallon is the trash, and the 35-gallon cart, the smallest on the left, is the organics collection. And residents are encouraged to set those out year round. If they exceed what they can fit in the 35-gallon cart, then they have to use a sticker for any additional bags they set aside. At this time, it was $2.50. I think it's going up to about $3 now. So one other thing that we've done is education, providing guidelines. This is obviously the most important thing to get people to come into the realm of doing this. We thought adding recycling back in the 80s was hard. This is even harder. So education. We did work with a group called Recycle by City and put together compost guidelines. Those are on our website. The images that you see there, like the apple and the broccoli and the cheese, if you hover over them, they'll give you more information. There's information about what you can't put in. We also have program pages for each one of our community that also specify what they have available to them. So we try to use all that and try to get the municipalities to engage and use those elements too in communicating. A couple other things that we've done over the years. Obviously, Midwest Organics Recycling. Quite proud of the investment they made back in 2007 to expand their program to start taking in more organics and food waste. In 2018, we implemented a food waste recycling program and diversion program in the Lake County Jail. That was amazingly efficient, and we saw a 50% reduction in their total disposal costs because of it. This is something I'd like to see more jails around the country doing. This seems pretty simple because it's such a closed system, and usually they've got contract food service operators that are, you can write these into the specifications. So that's kind of what's going on there. We do work with some local businesses, try to encourage more food scrap collection at the business level, like Duke's is doing, and that's another one. In the last 2 years with COVID, it's been pretty difficult to have those conversations with the businesses right now. Some of them, are doing pretty much everything, carry out and back of the house. It's still a challenge to talk to them about this. So we've kind of paused that, but we're trying to get that back going again. But I do want to just dwell on a couple things. So as Steve had mentioned, getting your mayor involved, getting your council involved, really want to get those communities to have those conversations with their waste haulers and get this food scrap option added into as an upgrade, or however you want to call it, into their contract for their waste hauling service. We've developed some RFP language that we put in all of our bids now, just to even get a number as to what the costs are going to be to provide that service, so we get the conversation going. Haulers do seem to be more willing to do this, especially if it allows them to get a contract extension, but they are slow and they don't always want to, begrudgingly, they don't want to do this sometimes. So it is challenging, which I find hard to understand is, if the haulers can see this as a third line of service and an additional revenue source, why they can't fathom how to provide a service like this sometimes and make it work. But, again, get those costs out on the table, start talking about them. The ride along generally should be a no cost. So that's the easy first step towards your year-round program. We also work with 7 Generations Ahead and done some programs on our own with schools. So that's something, certainly is important too. You want to get all these pieces of the puzzle kind of lining up. So last, just, the key factors, education, right? So you want to work with those local governments and elected officials, get them knowledgeable, get staff on board with understanding that those contracts could put some provisional language in them to change the service levels. And then, of course, finding the hauler that's going to work with you on this is important too. But generally, when we do this, route density is the key. The more homes you got on the route, the more business stops that you got along the way, the haulers will find it easier to price it and easier to support it. So that's what we like to do. I'm going to just briefly talk about, we've got a grant from the USDA. We've been working on this for a couple of years now. It ends this year, but one of the things we felt is, or understood, is that we can create all this compost, but we got to use it. So one of the things that we're doing is a demonstration study of putting compost on farmland in Lake County to come up with some key findings that we can share with local farmers and community gardens and home gardeners to try to, again, to bring some more light to the idea that using finished compost in your gardens is beneficial and worth it. We are working with Lake County Extension, which also has staff in McHenry County. And then, of course, our objective 3 is the food waste from landfill. We're doing a little bit more here. There's an application of the compost on a farmland. You can see the test strips that are there. So we studied that. Interesting findings. We're not quite done yet, but definitely the adding of the organic matter helps a lot. So this is just a little briefly of what we got going with the public education. So these are our mascots: Corey, the apple core, and Shelly, the eggshell. We're using these in social marketing and media in our communities, try to get people more engaged in using compost. This one, I think, tells a lot. Obviously, reducing methane in our landfills is important too. We want to definitely stop that gas being produced. That's it. So I know I went through that fast, but hopefully it was good.
All right, great. Thank you. Yeah, that was a great presentation. Thank you, Peter. We'll first open up to the group if anyone has any questions for all 3, and then after the questions to our speakers, then I'd really like everyone to think about and talk about what their plans are to do in their town to reduce food waste, and what are the barriers. And let's get rid of those barriers and talk amongst each other and how we can collaborate with each other to try to get food reduction waste here in McHenry County. So if you do have a question, just please raise your hand, and we'll start from there. Okay, I see Ellie Fleming, if you want to go ahead.
Yeah, so I had a question. It kind of applies to all 3 speakers. I noticed on the list for the Ride Along program that Crystal Lake was not listed. I'm from Crystal Lake, and I was just wondering what steps could be done to get Crystal Lake involved in that program. I'm from Crystal Lake. I'm really passionate about compost and sustainability. And so it's kind of directed at Nick Hammonds, but also I know there's a lot of obstacles that I may not be aware of. So I was just wondering what we can do there.
Yeah, no, that's great, because we signed on with Prairie Land Disposal in 2018. So that initial term is 5 years. So actually it'll expire in April of next year. Basically what that means is that this year we'll be going through to work with them about negotiating what the contract terms will be, because there's multiple extensions that are allowed for it. And especially, as new programs like this are expanding, that's one of the things we're going to look at. We got some other items we want to discuss with them, but I even just made a note here that bringing up the different composting, expanding on that. Yeah, because like I said before, people can put food scraps with their yard waste, but right now, the yard waste facilities, a lot of them are shut down. So, without that offered at this time, and that's something that we want to expand as well. So it'll be discussions this year, and then implementation would come in what would be May of 2023.
All right, great.
Billy, I'll comment. So the slides I showed were just for Lake County, so that's why Crystal Lake wouldn't be on there. But what Nick's describing is, it sounds like there is a ride-along option already in. You're in Crystal Lake, is that correct, Ellie? Yeah. So you do have that option. Generally speaking, like Nick said, though, it's only for the 8 months of the year that the yard wastes are being collected. the year-round program would have to be negotiated further, because that's requiring a truck to be making a route, you know, during those 4 months of the winter season.
Mhm. Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Great, thanks. All right, Scott, you had a question?
Yeah, first a comment and then I guess a question. First off, to follow up with what Steve Wenzel was talking about, you know, the plastic bag fee really is a major accomplishment and stands as a great precedent that can be replicated in Crystal Lake and other places. And Mayor Brian Sager was the mayor that was, you know, kind of the cheerleader for the program initially. But the current mayor was also very supportive of it. So Mike Turner is now the mayor of Woodstock, and he was on the city council at the time. And he emphasized when he voted for the fee that he is categorically against taxes. You know, he hates taxes, but this is a voluntary tax. You know, you don't want to pay the tax, bring your own damn bag. You know, it's simple. And so I think it's important to kind of keep that in mind when we're talking about these things is, you know, it's a matter of perspective. And you know, we need to get everybody on board. It can't just be the people that believe in this being the only ones understanding the importance. You know, we need to be able to explain things from different perspectives and show the full benefits and costs. But, you know, sometimes, you know, people like Mike, you know, have a certain perspective that we may not be conscious of until we really look at it and look at it from others' perspectives. I guess when I lived in Crystal Lake, I was thrilled when we went with prairie land disposal because of the composting. I was renting up in a place that I really wasn't able to have composting. But it was my understanding that we could actually put kitty litter in the box. And that was how I actually got my landlord to support the program, because he had cats. And, you know, if we can be composting that instead of, you know, having it go in the garbage every week, you know, that was a way to bring him on board. And, you know, maybe I was mistaken about that. I don't know if anybody can clarify that, but that was my understanding. And I think, you know, something like that could really bring a lot of people who may not be very conscious about food waste on board with composting in a broader sense. So am I correct that kitty litter can be composted with prairie land?
Yeah, that's included as well.
Yeah, regretfully, there's not many compost facilities that will say yes to that other than Midwest Organics Recycling. So there are some challenges with what compost facilities will take and not take. Not all are the same. And that, I think we talked about that earlier today with, you know, the OMRI certifications. There are some limiting factors sometimes. And, you know, prairie land is now LRS, and where LRS is going to go with their compost could change. So that's something we got to be diligent on and understand the nuances of some of those changes.
Thank you.
Great, thanks. Anyone else with a question for the panel? Let's see here. Oh, Ellie, if you want to go again, go for it.
I was trying to give other people a chance. I had another question though.
Oh, no worries.
So this isn't necessarily pertaining to food waste, but it's something I'm very passionate about regarding sustainability. And I thought maybe Peter or Steve or Nick could answer this question. So one thing I was doing research on at school, I just graduated college, was the dichotomy between HOAs, like neighborhood associations requiring green lawns, but then also cities promoting like pollinators, like kind of like Nick was talking about what the city of Crystal Lake is doing. So I just feel like that's kind of a big barrier in a lot of cities and municipalities, that some sections are still requiring those green lawns to live in neighborhoods, and it's really frowned upon to have pollinator gardens. So like, what's a way that we can kind of bridge that gap and maybe not have HOAs require that? Or is it just more education, or what are some people's thoughts on that?
My sense would be if you're in an HOA, run for the board and try and change the rules. But there was an observation some years ago that at least during the building boom of the early aughts, HOAs had a shelf life of about 3 years, and then they kind of evaporated, and then common areas reverted to the city for management, et cetera. So there's an opportunity there.
Yeah, I agree. And a lot of it is too is like the education, and that's what we're gonna try and look at this year and kind of wrap it under the mayor's Monarch pledge. And we've talked about it at the Sustainability Committee as well, and kind of just working directly with those the HOAs, those different places where they have their landscaping program. They don't want any leaves left there. They're very strict about it. So it's sometimes it's a sensitive issue, but it's at least getting that discussion going, trying to get buy-in from those groups.
I'll also add for the Lake County piece of it that in Gray's Lake, you've got Prairie Crossing up there. So Peter, you're probably very aware of that. But for those that aren't aware, they have a great program in terms of an HOA that has some flexibility with what their landscapes look like. And I would love to see that adopted in our community. Nick, I have sent this to you. Of course, you know this, and I'm speaking to the choir with Nick. But thank you for bringing it up because it is something that I have brought up to Nick myself.
Great. Great. All right. Any other questions right now?
I had one that was directed to me from a Laura B.
Okay.
She said she couldn't raise her hand,
Oh, okay.
but she was asking, how did towns with curbside food waste pick up, overcome reluctance from participants with issues regarding animals getting into their containers and smells and et cetera? I don't know if I mean, obviously the preparation and the set out of food is kind of critical in this process. I mean, wildlife is all around us and it's going to be there. I don't know if you can really control for it 100%. The fact of the matter is, though, everybody's setting out food waste in their trash every week. So what would be the difference between diverting it into a different container? Now, granted, a craft bag may be a little more susceptible, but if you've got cart-based systems for your organics collection, should be really no difference between what you're setting out between the, you're just separating it differently. That's all. So I don't know if that really answers it. I mean, that's kind of a simple answer because there are complexities to that, but there certainly, I think, one of the things you do is you just got to work a little harder to manage it.
Well, yeah, definitely. I think that's where the education piece comes in about teaching how to not make, because your compost should never smell. So if
Well,
it's,
yeah. I mean, there's the truth is there is a yuck factor, right? Right now, what we've got is we've got a lot of people doing or food scrap diversion that really want to do it and understand how to do it. But to get it to the mainstream, to get that 80% participation rate, that's really going to be tough because there is going to be some problems. There are going to be people that just are not going to, I mean, I look at recycling and you still see people not caring or doing it correctly. Putting just bags and bags of stuff in their recycling cart and watching the trash hauler refuse to take it because they don't know what's in it or they know it's trash. So there's challenges, I say it today, recycling was easy. That was easy to get people to understand and do. This organics diversion is really going to get tough once we start getting over 20-30% participation. Because we're not even there, that's even with these year-round programs, we don't have that participation rate yet.
Okay. All right. There is one question in the chat from Lisa McLaughlin. She's asking, I would like to learn what direction municipalities are going with green initiatives. Are they retrofitting the LED lights using solar, etc.? If Nick or Steve or any other municipality wants to talk about what they're doing about retrofitting lights and using solar.
I'm not involved in the program at all or in the recommendations for it, but I know that Woodstock did swap out a lot of its lighting with LEDs some years back. They contracted, I think, with a local provider. This may have been before the light frequency wars of what color keeps people awake and is bad, and I'm not sure how that panned out. But I know we've done some work in that area.
Yeah, the city's proceeding with that, and part of that as well as even we just did it at Three Oaks for some of the parking lot lights, and ComEd has a reimbursement for it. So we work with a local contractor to do the installation. They submit, we got, I think it was 1/5 of the cost back from ComEd. So, you know, the long-term energy savings for that, you know, we do that wherever we can as we go through our program with, you know, doing any work on the lights, we'll swap them out with LED. And then also using solar, you know, we look at grant opportunities, different places that, you know, kind of like the ComEd analysis that they'll do for facilities, trying to see it, you know, our water and wastewater plants, you know, where we could fit those, maybe even at City Hall. So, you know, we're definitely looking into that, and especially as that's grown, we're, you know, getting more information. So that's an ongoing goal for the city.
I can speak for Barrington Hills. I don't know if it's working. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so because I didn't see the green line around my box. Of course, we're all residential and 5-acre zoning. So we have a handful of streetlights, but they were retrofitted through a grant, I think, under the last administration. And then we had a new program where we are putting in cameras at the access points to the village for reading license plates. And I believe those are run by solar.
Oh, great. That's wonderful. You guys are a small town and doing so much. That's great. That's awesome. And oh, Scott, you have another question? Go ahead.
Yeah, I can kind of talk from a county to a certain degree.
Excellent.
Somebody brought up Prairie Crossing in Grays Lake, and that's referred to as a conservation design community. And essentially what you're doing there is you're locating the housing in clusters. So no offense, Barrington Hills, but you know, instead of 5-acre lots, you're clustering the houses close together and on the least environmentally sensitive parts of a property. And then the rest of that is then left intact to provide groundwater infiltration and any number of things. And ideally that would be planted into, you know, some type of native that's communally maintained. Here in McHenry County, we do have a conservation design requirement under the county's PUD or our ordinance and UDO, I'm sorry. And so if there are certain triggers, wetlands, groundwater infiltration areas, then it's required to do conservation design. And they're allowed to have the same number of homes. And if they do an exceptional design, they're actually allowed to have more homes in the development than they would be doing conventional development because it is preserving that groundwater recharge and those other ecosystem services. In McHenry County also, we are getting more and more solar farms. So we've got 5 solar farms that are either completed or almost completed and operating. In McHenry County, we require solar farms to plant native vegetation. And so during the life cycle of these solar farms, which are typically going to be about 30 years, basically every drop of water that lands on that property is going to be absorbed by the soil and infiltrate or taken up by the plants, and providing pollinator habitat, air quality benefits. And so, you know, these things are being done on a grand scale, and the solar farms will then provide greater and greater access for municipalities and others to participate in solar, even if they can't put solar on their buildings, because sometimes, you know, you can't support the loading on an existing roof. So there are going to be more and more options available. And then with recent legislation that's been passed, CEJA, that's going to provide more and more opportunities for solar. You know, about 12 years ago, when we were finishing up the Woodstock environmental plan, you know, we were advocating for converting to LED, and, you know, it was such an alien concept at that time. Now it's the accepted norm, and the costs have come down. One of the biggest problems with retrofitting is, you know, that the LED bulbs may not be compatible with the ballast that's in the system. So that could be problematic sometimes, but the cost savings with LED kind of make it a no-brainer now. And one of the beauties of LED is you really can create them to have any light spectrum that you want. So a lot of versatility on top of reduced costs is going to increase demand for that type of conversion. So a lot of options, that are being done right now, and that municipalities can also adopt along with what the county is doing. So that's all. Thanks, guys.
Just to respond in defense of Barrington Hills.
Go ahead.
We have 6,000 acres of forest preserve, which is 42% of our community. And we also have the Barrington Area Conservation Trust, where a lot of the homeowners are putting large parts of their land into conservation easements and also along the roadways. We've been protecting the roadways with that. So even though we're spread out with 5-acre zoning, conservation is a huge focus in our area. And I think there was one development planned where it was going to be more similar to what you were describing, but they were going to use spray sewage. So I think perhaps, there's a lot of ways to look at a lot of these different problems, but we have a great deal of conservation area, and most of those areas are being restored. There's a lot of different ways to solve these issues. I'm just defending what we're trying to do with what we have. Thanks.
Absolutely, and Barrington Hills is a great partner on many different things, and the BACOG has just been a tremendous leader, and we are actually going to want to be working with Barrington Hills on a variety of things, and one of the things that's being talked about is working with landowners to manage all the oaks on the properties, because on those 5-acre lots is a tremendous amount of remnant oaks that can be managed so that future generations can have those oaks as well. So I tried to caveat it, my comment, but I appreciate what you guys are doing there.
Thanks.
All right, great. I was wondering that, like in the Hills with Flood Brothers, we have an opt-in program, and, for the curbside composting. I know research always shows that people will, if you have to opt in, it's likely that they're not going to opt in. It's more of an opt out. That people will would be involved more. So I'm curious, what is the point of an opt in and not just allowing everyone to do it when it just goes in your yard waste anyway? It's what I'm kind of confused about. Why would you even need that program to opt in?
I'll answer first if probably directed me. So really, it's the year-round program. The so-called 8-month yard waste season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Depending on where the hauler is going with the organic material, generally speaking, anybody should be able to incorporate food scraps into that bag or those cans that they're setting out. But when you go beyond the 8 months, when you get into November through March, basically, that's where the waste hauler is going to say, look, we're going to need route density. We're going to need a guarantee of revenue source to justify running this truck. And if it's just, if the guarantee is, we'll see what the residents want to do and give them the option at any given time, that hauler could be upside down. Which is not what they want to be doing, and I'm sure they'll put an end to it pretty quick if they find that they're so getting into that. Either all in is really the way to do it. Like I just mentioned, Highland Park is moving to that direction, saying, look, it's just part of the basic service. Everybody gets the 3-card option, or the 3-stream of collection option year round, and this is the cost. And that's the best way to keep the cost down too, because you're spreading it across a larger population. It's not going to be free, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. Anybody that says it's free, now they're selling you something. But anyway, so hopefully that answers it a little better, Cecilia.
Yeah, it's like in the Hills, just to even put the food scraps in your yard waste, you have to opt in. That's what it doesn't.
All I see that is there's barriers there, and those barriers just create a situation of non-participation.
Yeah, I was just curious why that would be on there compared to just, since everyone's picking it up already,
Yeah, I'm not sure with flood.
Okay.
They don't do any work in Lake County, so I'm not,
Okay.
other than commercial, and
Okay.
I'm not familiar with their.
Okay, all right, thanks. All right, Scott, you had another comment? Oh, no, okay, okay, all righty.
His hand's still up though.
And hands still up.
There you go.
Okay, no worries, no worries. All right, great. All right, and then, so my other, with the haulers, I mean, they're all picking up our yard waste. Is it just where they're dropping it off? Why some of them are not providing the food compost?
It could be. So, the largest composting facility in our region is Thielen.
Mhm,
And they're just on the border of Lake County, McHenry County, up by Antioch there, right?
mhm,
Thielen generally says, well, we're not, let's face it, their permitting with the state of Illinois only allows up to 10% food scrap to be included, or food waste. But they're the largest composting facility in the state of Illinois.
Mm.
It'd take a lot of participants for them to hit
Mm.
10%. So what we're seeing right now is Thielen is kind of, and I don't want to speak for them here, but what we're seeing is that they are saying, at least not denying haulers to bring in material that has food waste included into the pile, or into the stream. Midwest Organics Recycling over there, in McHenry, Wakanda border, they are more proactive in saying, yes, we take it, but they do have the permit with the IEPA, and they are one of the few composting facilities in the region that has that permit that allows them to exceed 10% of their total inbound stream of food. So that's an important distinction, is where their permits lie. I know LRS was taking some of their material out to Compost Supply. I believe they have the permit for the 10%. There was the facility down in the south side of Chicago called Organics with an X. That got purchased by the We Care Denali company. They shut that system down for a while because it was just a mess when We Care Denali took it over, and they needed to clean it up. So I'm not sure if they're taking food waste down there right now. I believe they are, but yeah, so it's tricky. It's tricky. And then there's a lot of little composting facilities that just have their standard permits, whether they're municipal or private ownership, that haven't gone and beyond. So there is an infrastructure issue that has to be addressed here in the state. We have a lot of composting facilities, but a lot of them don't have the capability or the desire to take in non-vegetative organic material. And then that even gets into further depth with, packaging, and that's still problematic, as we heard earlier today, but hopefully we're making progress on that side too.
All right, all right, great. Scott, you had something to add?
Just real quick, I can't speak for Thielen in any way, shape, or form, but you guys have a relationship with them, and they will.
Nope, lost you there, Scott.
So they're not averse to trying new things, and so maybe people that or organizations that have a relationship with them were to put a little pressure on and demonstrate that it could be economically viable, they might be willing to be more open to it. But they did the solar farm because they got money back for it, so they're not going to do things out of benevolence. But from my experience with them, they are open to thinking outside the box. So I don't know if we as consumers can put pressure on them, but I guess we could put pressure on you to put pressure on them.
Right. And, you know, like my agency, I don't work directly with them. It's the waste haulers that are delivering that material to them. And, you know, in some cases, the waste haulers need to put that pressure on too. But quite honestly, you're right. Thielen is progressive. They've been very good about what they do. They don't, right at this point, need the extra permitting because of the size of their operation. So that's okay. They don't have to worry about too much of that. But, you know, my background's recycling, obviously, you know, the traditional stuff, cans, bottles, paper, plastic. I would always tell anybody, know your MRF, know your material reclamation facility, understand what they take and what they don't take, because they're all different. And this goes the same for a compost processing operator. Know your composters, know what they accept, know what they don't accept. Waste haulers sometimes tell you something that's not correct either, like this issue with the animal waste. You know, you hear two sides of the story sometimes from, you know, the grapevine, so to speak, changes the message. You believe you should trust your waste hauler, but I've run into situations where the waste hauler will have, no, we don't take it. Well, just talk to the composting facility. They said you do. Okay. And then it's like, well, when did you talk to the composting facility last time? And the waste hauler goes, it's been a year or two. Well, you know, I mean, things change. And that's unfortunately what a lot of people, the general public, don't understand is it is an evolving industry, both recycling in general, composting even more so now. So understanding those end markets, understanding where things are going is critical, especially for elected officials and staff of you know, or municipalities and county governments. So.
All right, excellent. We do have a Prairie Land is actually in the restaurant breakout, so maybe I could we could send over a little note over there and say that we are asking them to really put a push on Thielen. So that would be great if we can get that going. And any other questions for the panel? Don't see any yet. All right. Well, I have questions for all of you that are here today. What do you feel as municipal leader, as a county board member? What are your responsibilities for food waste? Do you feel that you have a responsibility in your town to reduce the food waste? I want you guys, if you want to say something, or if you want to just put it in the chat, I just want you to really think about, that's what we're here today. We want to reduce the food waste in our county, and you guys are an important part of that. You know, I was on the village board of Lake in the Hills. I was a village clerk, and yeah, you can walk in every day and just sign your ordinances and go away, but we're here to make change, and we can use these positions to make great change in our county. So I'm asking you, what do you feel like your responsibility is that for food waste? And what do you want to do, or what are your barriers to finding solutions to decreasing that food waste?
Okay, well, I'll start. And we're just residential, so we don't have the issues with restaurants and businesses. But and we do an e-waste program each year, and that was 9,000 pounds we did just in the one program we did this year. Being residential and horse community, a lot of people here promote composting already, and a lot of our citizens do that. I actually learned a lot today about what some of the other options were. I know we have more than one waste hauler in our village, and I'm going to now look into that and see what the options might be, because we don't have a program really for food waste. You know, it just, we do a lot of education, the garden clubs, the people with farms, they all recycle this, or I know with the manure sometimes is hauled out, and I'm not sure where that goes to. So there's just more that I'm going to learn from that, and see what we can do going forward. We do recycle the political signs, the e-waste, and I'm going to look into some of the other issues that came up today, like the holiday lights. And we are trying to do a more environmentally friendly road salt program with a new contractor this year. And you know, styrofoam recycling, I have not looked into. So this has been an excellent seminar in bringing some new ideas that I can bring forward. I'm a trustee at Barrington Hills, but I'm also head of the environmental committee. So I really appreciate this. Thank you.
Oh, great. That's wonderful to hear. As you remember in our presentation, our Defenders is involved in the styrofoam recycling, and yeah, we can definitely reach out if you we can see about getting a bin and having our volunteers come out and pick up that styrofoam. We do have a styrofoam at home initiative. I got a sign in front of my house and it works wonderfully. My neighbors come over and they drop off their styrofoam to my garage, and I bring it to the recycling centers that we have here in Algonquin Township or in Woodstock. So we can definitely work on that as well. So that's great. It's exciting to see what you guys are doing in Barrington Hills, and we definitely want to partner more with you.
Well, we also used to have, Cuba Township is right here in our village, and they used to take e-waste. You could just take it there any day of the week, and that's gone now. So sometimes maybe the townships can be a valuable resource also. It was for a while anyway.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I know, and we all know the law in Illinois that we can't put e-waste in our garbage, but our haulers are not required to take it. I know a few of them do take e-waste. I'm not familiar with all of them, but I'm with Lake in the Hill. So Flood Brothers will once a month take a few e-waste equipment from each household. And then also, like, we've partnered with the county as well with environmental health and done the county-wide e-waste. So definitely that'd be great to just even to expand that, to do more of that e-waste for everyone. Does anyone know, does Prairie Land, do they take the e-waste?
Yeah, I could comment since they are in Lake County and Lake Barrington. Yeah, so, there's a law called CERA, the Consumer Electronic Recycling Act, and each county in the state has to opt in to be a part of that. So McHenry County does opt in. What we did in Lake County, it's a little different in McHenry County, is we've actually identified all of our waste haulers as collectors. So LRS, or Prairie Land, has a trailer sitting at their facility in Lake Barrington, and the electronics they collect goes into that trailer, and then that trailer gets picked up by the electronic recycler that is required to do that by the state law. We also have Waste Management doing that at their facility right now in Antioch and Waukegan. They're going to consolidate into Grays Lake because they're building a new building to consolidate 3 operations, including one in McHenry on Route 31 there. They're going to close that down eventually and consolidate it to Grays Lake. But we've got Groot also provides for that service. They've got a trailer. So the counties can designate the waste haulers. The key is getting the municipal contract to state that electronics is part of the service. And that could be a drop off at the waste hauler's facility. That could be a pickup at the curb once a year, once a month, however you want to, what you can negotiate with them. They do sometimes charge an extra fee. The state law does allow for a fee to be charged if it's a service that's being provided. The drop off, they're not supposed to charge a fee at, but if it's a pickup, they can charge a fee. So there are some pieces to that that could work. You've also got a great company, Elgin Recycling, over there in Gilbert's. They do a lot of good work. I think the holiday lights are something that they take and have set up programs for. I won't go on. I know the county's got, a network already set up, but working with the waste haulers is critical.
Yeah. I'm wondering, can these be implemented during a contract? Like if or it has to be wait till the negotiation next time? Like as a citizen, can you say, hey, why aren't you doing this? Will they have to wait till the contract is renewed, or is this something that a hauler you've seen where they've put it in mid-contract?
So here's my experience. Okay. If you go and ask, sometimes the hauler may say yes. However, generally speaking, they want to do it at a renewal, or if it's going to be midterm, it's going to require renegotiating the whole contract basically in order to include that. And that opens up possibly a Pandora's box sometimes on some pricing issues. So it's tricky. I won't go on. I'm not a city manager. I don't want to pretend I am one, but There are reasons why municipal governments would not want to open up a contract midway to add something like that, and would be probably more patient to wait for a renewal or a new contract to be negotiated altogether. So hope that answers.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Kelly Beckman from the solid waste wanted to say something. Oh.
Hi, I'm the solid waste manager for McHenry County, and kind of just to tag on what Peter was saying is that the county does offer 4 collection events a year. We kind of try to spread them out throughout the county. And then we've also partnered with Elgin Recycling that has a facility right in Crystal Lake on 176 that you can take electronics to Monday through Saturday. So just throw that out there. Thanks.
Great. All right. Can you guys hear me? Oh, okay, great. Oh, okay. Thanks, Kelly. And then there's a question in the chat about textiles. It says the defenders collect textiles at our recycling drives, but currently I don't. What? Oh, I'm sorry. There's up one. Oh, okay. Sorry. It says the village. Oh, can you? I'm sorry. Can you find it for me? Can you ask? Oh, okay. So it says in the village of South Barrington, they offer textile recycling, and if there's any textile recycling here in McHenry County, that's the question. Does anyone know of any of that?
Yeah, this is Scott. Somebody had answered that, but
Okay.
just to kind of tag what was just mentioned. So the county does 4 recycling drives a year that has both electronics recycling, paint recycling. They'll do battery pickups. So these are big events, and they partner with the environmental defenders in McHenry County, and the defenders also operate opportunities for the textile recycling, styrofoam pickup, and I think light bulb. So there's a variety of things that are recycled at those events, both between the county and the environmental defenders of McHenry County. And so those are done 4 times a year. So big events, get there early because the semis can fill up.
Yes, definitely. Yes. Yeah, I've had people talk about, I've waited an hour. I'm like, well, make sure your hauler starts taking e-recycling then.
Well, it's very well run. I
yes.
commend the Kelly and the health department on how they do it. And it's, also the defenders volunteers. I mean, they really move people through there very quickly. But keep an eye out for it. And then the other thing is, when they have household hazardous waste days, that's very important to take advantage of those, because we all have things in our garage that don't belong in the landfill.
Definitely. I wanted to bring up the charging for plastic bags. Steve, I'm curious because, well, I know you have that ordinance, and a lot of our towns, we do have the same law firm that works for the villages. And when it first came out, I know our director, Cynthia Canther, did send a copy of the ordinance to every town. And so I'm with a plastic bag initiative might be in the state. Do you think our villages, do we have time to pass one? Because will you guys get like a grandfather in if there's a state tax? Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
We tried to get this done so we'd be ahead of a state law, because there was a rumor one was going to happen. And so we would be grandfathered. I don't know where that is on the state's calendar right now. I think COVID put a lot of stuff back, but your corporation counsel can certainly tell you if you'd still qualify for a grandfathering if you were to get such a law, in place.
Okay.
One of our experiences that major retailers aren't a source of pushback on this, because they've already had to do this in other places. So their point of sale accounting, bookkeeping systems are already set up to partition this off and charge it in their accounting buckets and send it off to the municipality. So you might be able to get these done fairly quickly, depending on how much pushback you get,
Okay.
from smaller retailers.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and I think it's important, if we were all all contiguous municipalities were consistent with this, that would actually simplify things from a management standpoint and from a public standpoint. So, if if you're with a municipality or have any influence on it, I think it's something that definitely should be considered because, we'll standardize it and just make operating it much simpler throughout the region.
You will hear people say, we'll just go to shop in another adjacent town because we're not going to pay this and then spend more on gasoline getting there to do it. So.
Yeah. And that's one thing I wanted to, which I want all you village administrators to think about. We are seeing more electric cars. We're having more plugins. We're having more access to that. So if you're concerned about losing that motor fuel tax, I know that that's a lot of money that comes to your city. You can, I'm not sure how much it would bring in, but that's another revenue that you have just charging for those plastic bags. I know when the city of Chicago started it, they saw a reduction of use of plastic bags by 60%. I mean, they did it way before the pandemic. So it does initially make a big impact. So I just encourage you to start, if you need another copy of that ordinance, I'm sure we can get it to you, and just think about, you have time to get this passed before the state. I know last time I looked and it was not thrown in the rules committee. I don't know if you even know about state politics. If you see a bill in the rules committee, it's kind of dead. So right now I think it's still in the House. So we will see what happens with that plastic ban ordinance, and we'll definitely we work with the Illinois Environmental Council and definitely keep you guys abreast of what's going on with that.
And I'll just add one final thing, which is that the reason you would want to do this on your own sooner is that you can control where the revenue goes, whereas in the state bill, you don't have that control.
Oh, well, that's good to know.
From the
Excellent.
fee.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Oop, you got muted there, Cecilia.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Sorry. Alrighty. And then anyone else want to talk about what they're thinking about doing for sustainability in their town, or I know we have, or in the county, or wherever you worked, and what's stopping you? And you got a big group of people here and can help you figure out the best avenues to do that.
We're looking at straws. We spoke with Guy Spinelli, who may or may not be in this session, on the practicality of paper straw as a replacement. We haven't gotten terribly far with it, thank you, COVID, but we have to pick up with that this spring.
Oh, excellent. That's good. Yeah. Or even just, we were, before COVID too, we were trying in our committee just, about asking first for the straw, just reducing it that way. Do we really, does everyone who gets a straw need a straw? I think so. That's great. That's good to hear. And is there anyone?
You got muted. There you go.
I know. Okay, sorry. Anyone else? I gotta stop muting myself. Oh, go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, I just a little perspective. It's a lot of us talk about composting because it's the right thing to do. But it's also the economically right thing to do. Municipalities want to be municipalities, 50 years from now. We are running out of space in our landfills. As the landfills fill up, we're either going to have to put them here, or we're going to have to take them further and further away. And so the cost of shipping our waste is going to get bigger and bigger. Every engineer I've ever spoken to acknowledges that our landfills are going to leak. They now have liners and ways to collect the liquids that seep out. Do you know that those people are going to be maintaining that 50 years from now? These landfills are going to be potential sources of contamination, for hundreds or thousands of years. We're putting these things in there expecting that everybody's going to have the same level of interest and access to technology to maintain these things as we do. And we're expecting people who didn't cause the problem in the first place to be taking care of these things for the next 1,000 years. It's the right thing to do for that reason. We don't want to be polluting our own water as these things leak. And we don't want to be incurring greater and greater costs to ship compostable materials further and further away. It makes no sense to keep doing things the way that we're doing. It's mathematically impossible for us to keep doing what we're doing. So instead of waiting until we're forced to make a decision on this, we as municipalities and leaders and, as the current people causing the problem need to take responsibility and lead by example and start making these changes now. These things make a lot of sense. Like I said, LEDs, people thought I was crazy when I talked about them, 12 years ago. There's so much revenue being made on the LED technologies now, and they're saving so much money. So we can generate opportunities, economic opportunities and wealth by doing the right thing as opposed to trying to continue doing what we're doing. So just a perspective.
Yeah, thanks. That's very true. And I know Julie did put a little comment here that states are very strange with the closures and post-closures care of landfills. Most are under 30-year post-closure care and are held at a very strict closure performance standards. Let's see. All right, and then Lisa asked, any suggestions on a great home composting system? I know the defenders on our, I think it's on our YouTube page now. There is a whole webinar on how to for backyard composting. It's done by actually a farmer here in McHenry County, and it is mostly on the worms, but that's a great place to look. Anyone else have great suggestions or things if you've implemented in your town that have taught residents to compost in their homes?
I mean, I'm simplistic. It doesn't take a lot to compost in your backyard. It's as simple as just starting a pile. The challenge is that there are certain things that you shouldn't be trying to backyard compost, like meats and bones and animal waste mainly. So there is, you got to do that in an in-vessel situation, and that's an expensive process that probably shouldn't be left to homeowners to do. I don't know how many municipalities would really like to change their codes to allow those kinds of systems to exist. So I think the commercial composting is still a critical piece of this, getting it to a drop off or getting it to having it picked up. But backyard composting, there's a lot of simple systems out there, chicken wire, enclosed bin, there's so many different things and they all work. I mean, that's the beauty of compost, right? It's gonna start breaking down. It's just a matter of how quickly you want it to be finished. Is going to involve more time on your side to do it. So.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and the Land Conservancy does sell the compost bins with their native plant sales as well. That's where I got mine, and it's kind of exciting that I made soil. It's a very powerful feeling. I don't know if you guys have, but I was very excited when I finally got my soil together. So, all right. And is there any, I don't know if Steve or Nick want to talk about, like for your sustainability committees for other towns that wanting to start them, like how many people do you think is a good amount of people to have? How often do you meet? Are your goals set by the village administrator, by the village board? What do you think would be a great way for a town to start one?
For Crystal Lake, ours was a continuation from the Clean Air Counts campaign. So we have 9 members, currently 8 and 1 vacancy, and Carol Elkins has applied. But so we typically have 9. We have, they're open to the public on, we meet monthly, the 3rd Wednesday of each month at City Hall. The committee was approved by resolution from the City Council, and that kind of listed out what our responsibilities and goals are for the group.
Okay, great. Yeah.
Ours was established by ordinance as an advisory commission of the city council on environmental issues, but we've had role creep, a lot of it on our own, to become an operating committee to execute projects. And so I think aside from the bag, our other big one was a community garden, because for years we didn't have a community garden in Woodstock, even though we had one back in the 70s. So it was us that got out there with our hammers and nails and a couple city staff and built the things. So that was by ordinance, but recruiting people to be on such a commission can be a challenge. And so tell your friends.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, great. Does anyone have any other questions or things they'd want to see? Is there, we definitely want to, meet again in June. I'm just curious if anyone, they want to put in the chat or to say, wish they didn't hear today that they'd like to hear for next time. That would really help us a lot too. And Scott, do you have another comment?
Yeah, sorry, I'm being very talkative today.
Oh, that's okay.
I did want to point out, I don't know who else from a municipality here, but regarding an environmental commission, sustainability committee, our municipalities have to have a what's called an MS4 permit. And this is all about water quality, stormwater, and they have to do public education and outreach as part of our MS4 permits. And so having a sustainability committee or an environmental committee in your municipality can be a credit that you can take as part of your MS4 permit. So not only would you be providing a committee that then could advise your city council or village board, you're also creating something that then provides credit for a permit that you have to maintain. And so you can get multiple benefits from having a committee, a sustainability committee or an environmental committee.
Great, thanks. Awesome. Well, I think if there's no more questions, but I just, like we said, the purpose of this summit was for all of you to make a goal. So I want all of you to make a goal on what's the next step. What can you do in the next month to make your town more sustainable? What can you do? Make a month goal. Make a goal from 6 months from now when we meet again, and I want to know what you did and what the barriers were, and we will have we will definitely send out, if you hadn't gotten already, all the resources that I know that Julie talked about, and we have a whole list of other resources that as we had reached out to the Illinois Sustainability Center at UIC, we reached out to the Environmental Finance Center at the University of Wichita that has done 5 sustainability food summits. And they've given us a great list of resources as well to help all of you here today. So please let me know what your goals are, and we are here to help you. I know Julie talked about that food waste plan where, the talk to how to teach residents. We can definitely anyone on our committee, if you want to host that through your park district as a class, we are there to help you. If you want to start a sustainability committee, I can tell you who maybe reach out to some residents who are on our defenders who might be wanting to get that going. But I just want to thank you all for being here, and we do have a hashtag. I think, Ashley, can you put that in the chat? So we want to know what you're doing. And so we have a hashtag that she'll put in the chat so everyone can keep abreast of what's going on and congratulate each other as we become a more sustainable county. We can do this, yes, we're not the big city of Chicago, and but we have so many strong people here. We have so many people who want change. It really blew my mind when I started this summit. So I want to just thank you everyone for coming. One last thing, if everyone could just put their, if you don't mind, put their video up. I just wanted to take a picture of everybody, if you don't mind, and also we wanted to put everyone's email out as well. If you do have an issue with that, please let us know. We won't do it until later. And so if people want to contact everyone. Oh, all right, so let's see. All right, okay. All right. You all look beautiful, let me tell you. You look very sustainable too. You look very sustainable. I can tell from here. Okay, Kelly's going to take the picture for me because my computer's old. All right, and there's two screens. There's the second screen. Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. Anyone else have any last questions or before we sign off? I'm glad you guys I gave you, 20 extra minutes in your day. So I won't tell your boss that we got out early. So enjoy those extra 20 minutes. Yeah, we are always here. You go to our website. We will have also our Waste Reduction CL is our Gmail account. Please reach out to all of us here at the Defenders. And thank you again for making McHenry County sustainable as it is now, and it's going to get better in the future.
Cecilia, I wanted to respond to
of course.
somebody's comment. So Tina from Crystal Lake School District is interested in doing more environmentally responsible initiatives. And I just want to let you know that the environmental defenders have a variety of committees. And one of the committees is our education committee. And so that may be a great place for you to participate, to learn more about what your options are and to actually help influence, how things are done in the county. So just reach out to Cynthia Canner at the Environmental Defenders, and you can get more information. And then, there are things that you can do from, purchasing environmentally preferred products or requiring your vendors to do purchase or to use environmentally preferred products. So a lot of different options out there to help municipalities, school districts, and others do things more sustainably.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it. We have tried to build some initiatives here at school. And as I'm sure you're all aware, the district has some big fish to fry right now.
Yeah.
But we are trying to do everything we can. And before the pandemic, we got a little bit of a push, and definitely with the help of McSeep and the Defenders. It's just, I need to build a support system that the district will really take notice of. So thank you. I was only able to pop in and out here as I am teaching, but I will watch the recording and get more information.
Yeah, and I would definitely reach out to on the school side. The 7 Generations Ahead has worked with Chicago Public Schools, and also Evanston District 65 is 100% compostable. All their lunchrooms have compost bins. So that's my sister works for them. So if you can reach out, I can find someone who could definitely talk to you about that as well. So
45, I'm sorry.
65 Evanston School District. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and Tina, I'm a mom of I have one kid left in D47, so I'm already on the City of Crystal Lake Sustainability Committee, and I'm newish, but I'm passionate about these topics, and I would be happy to help. I also have I work for the Crystal Lake Chamber of Commerce, so I do have a lot of connections in the community. So if I can be of any assistance, let me know. I did put my name in the chat. So Lisa McLaughlin.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Great. All right. Thank you, everyone.
I wanted to add one quick.
Oh, go ahead.
Because I know, Scott, you reached out to me about your sensible salting program. And I think that applies to a lot of people from the schools to the villages. And I just thought maybe you want to share that information because that could be helpful.
Sure. And the county is a big leader in sensible salting, and we are working with many others in the region to promote sensible salting. And that's about reducing the amount of salt that's used to get rid of any excess. It's not about reducing safety in any way, shape, or form, but it's about using salt efficiently, using better ways of applying the salt. And because once chloride gets in our water, there is no way to take it out. So what's happening is it's accumulating in our groundwater, and it's also causing tremendous damage to our aquatic ecosystems. So we want to, make sure we have safe roads and safe parking lots and sidewalks, but not at the expense of our ability to support life into the future. So you can go contact me. I put my email in the chat, or you can just go to McHenryH2O.com to get in touch with me. So that's McHenryH2O.com. And that takes you to our webpage, and my email and contact information is in there.
Great. Awesome. I see, Michelle, are you guys finished up in restaurants?
Yeah, I was just joining in to see how you guys are doing.
Yeah,
Great,
could I-
great.
Could I make one more plug? I'm
Of
sorry,
course.
I should have mentioned this before. And Doug Rinkosik with Huntley School District, I think was on the school program. But the environmental defenders and Doug are going to be putting on a best management program. I think it's April 8th. And we really want school districts, municipalities, any organization that has a facility that they have to maintain, churches. And Doug will be going over best management practices that their school district does, including sensible salting. So he is a big advocate for that. And you can see how they are utilizing that in real life. This is not just some conceptual things. He'll actually be demonstrating and showing the equipment and how it's actually used. So anybody involved with municipality or other organization that has facilities, this is definitely a workshop that you guys should attend. And we'll be raffling off sensible salting equipment. So a lot of opportunities to learn and to move forward in your own entities. So look at it from the defenders, but I think it's April 8th. So we're going to have programs every month on a Friday covering different aspects of best management practices. So keep an eye out.
Great. Michelle, anything you want to share with the group about what happened in the restaurants?
Sure.
Yeah, just that, just real quick,
Sure.
maybe like, if they were asking anything from the municipalities or.
Honestly, I mean, we had a pretty good conversation. There was a lot of stuff that ideas and stuff that was being bounced around with our great panel speakers. So we did not necessarily get into like ordinances or that kind of thing, but we did talk a lot about needing support and resources to move forward with our initiatives, such as doing the composting and the a lot of education around the single-use plastics portion of it. Having some support in moving away from styrofoam and moving towards compostables or reusable. Even we did talk a lot about reusable packaging and moving away from single use altogether. So I think a big theme there was just having that support, not just at between restaurants, but up the stream, down the stream, and in the community too. I think that was a really big thing. The one other thing that was interesting that could relate to municipalities is they talked about doing a green dining initiative, which was getting a lot of restaurants certified green, whether it's through the Green Restaurant Association in a general area. And they're piloting that in New York, and I think they mentioned in Florida too. And that's a good way to kind of get restaurants to adopt these initiatives, but also get support from the community and haulers and townships too. So that was one of the things that we had talked a lot about.
Yeah, I know Mindful Waste does food audits. We'll do a food audit for a restaurant. So it would be great if maybe some towns in their budget, they could help fund those for restaurants in their community. And we can help. Another great way to help reduce food waste, and hopefully maybe there one day could be a grant that would pay for that too. So, alrighty, well, good. Mhm. Go
add
ahead.
the Illinois Food Scrap Coalition,
Mhm.
which is illinoiscompost.org. You know, they do have resources for restaurants. I don't know if they spoke about that at all, Michelle. You know, as far as resources on how to, and there's also the We Compost program, which is
Mhm.
recognition for restaurants and schools and municipal institutions that participate in food diversion programs. So.
All right, great. Yeah, we did put
Thank
that
you.
on that list. So, all right. All right. So, well, everyone have a great afternoon. Make sure that you compost your leftovers from lunch and recycle that your materials. But thank you so much again for being here. It just means so much. We really glad that we have so many people involved in this, and we will see you guys in the summer, and we will definitely reach out with all the resources that we've talked about today. All right. Well, all right. Have a great afternoon, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.